In our modern world, there's really nothing that can challenge an elephant. They're too big. Most predators steer clear of them because of their sheer size and power. Humans are one of the only things that elephants lose to, usually at the hands of poachers with guns. But it wasn't always this way. Around 66 million years ago, giant mammals similar to modern-day elephants roamed across the earth. These prehistoric relatives of elephants lived in a world dominated by dinosaurs. Even though they were huge, these ancient mammals still had to share the earth with some of the most fearsome carnivores in history. The ancestors of elephants didn't seem to mind, though, as they lived alongside dinosaurs for over 135 million years. But what if we took this even further and dropped a herd of African bush elephants right into the middle of the Jurassic period? Could elephants live alongside the mighty T-Rex? Or would the king of the dinosaurs quickly put these newcomers in their place? To answer this question, let's take a closer look at both sides. First up are the dinosaurs. Now, when most people think of dinosaurs, the image that comes to mind is usually that of the Tyrannosaurus rex. It's one of the most famous animals in the world, and it's easy to see why. The T-Rex was an absolute unit. They grew between 40 and 45 feet long and weighed around 7 tons. Their bite force was around 12,800 pounds, which was strong enough to break bones. With such powerful jaws, there was literally nothing this dinosaur couldn't eat. The T-Rex was a true apex predator. There was no animal that could fight back against this beast. Not even a fully grown African bush elephant could stand a chance against a T-Rex. So how could anyone possibly stand up to this creature? Well, it turns out their Achilles heel was actually their brain. Despite being gigantic, their brains were relatively small, around the same size as your average house cat. This meant that they weren't the sharpest tools in the shed. And despite being the top predator, they often got tricked by smaller, smarter animals. If a herd of elephants could surround a T-Rex and attack it from all angles, it might have a chance. However, this would be unlikely since T-Rexes could reach speeds of 25 miles per hour, and they would go down without a fight. So while it's possible that a group of elephants could defeat a T-Rex, it would be very difficult and not something that could happen every day. But not all dinosaurs were like the T-Rex. In fact, many of them were actually plant eaters. One of the most iconic herbivores was the Brachiosaurus. It was absolutely massive, growing up to 80 feet long and weighing around 70 tons. It also had a very long neck, which allowed it to reach high plants that no other animal could eat. Because of its size, the Brachiosaurus had very few predators to worry about. Nothing could realistically take down one of these giants. And it turns out they had very similar brains to the T-Rex, meaning they were just as unintelligent. While it would be extremely rare for an elephant to come across a Brachiosaurus, it's likely that they would compete for food. Elephants need to eat a lot of vegetation to survive. In one day, an elephant can eat between 300 and 600 pounds of plants. That's a lot of vegetation. And if there was a drought or another natural disaster, these two huge animals would be fighting over whatever food they could find. Since Brachiosaurus was so much bigger than an elephant, it would easily win in a fight. This means that if a drought or some other disaster came along, elephants would almost certainly lose this battle. The next dinosaur we'll take a look at is arguably the most famous of them all, the Triceratops. The Triceratops was a herbivore that grew up to 30 feet long and weighed around 7 tons. Its most defining feature was its 3 horns on its head, which it used to defend itself against predators. The good news for elephants is that the Triceratops was nowhere near as fast as the T-Rex. They could only run at around 5 miles per hour. This means that if an elephant managed to get close enough, it could probably goring the Triceratops with its tusks before it could do anything about it. However, the Triceratops shouldn't be underestimated. Its skull alone was nearly a ton, so it would take several hits from an elephant's tusks to take down one of these creatures. Also, don't forget that Triceratops had a tail. It may not have been able to run very fast, but it could certainly swing its tail with enough force to knock an elephant off its feet. While an elephant could likely defeat a Triceratops, it would not be easy, but it would be a tough fight that could go either way. And finally, we need to talk about the Stegosaurus. This dinosaur was pretty weird looking. It was small for a dinosaur, growing around 20 feet long and weighing around 2 tons. What it lacked in size, though, it made up for in defense. The Stegosaurus had large plates along its back and tail that were designed to protect it from predators. It also had 4 huge spines that protruded from its tail, which it could use to slash at enemies. The Stegosaurus was a herbivore, so it wouldn't fight back if an elephant attacked it. But the elephant might not want to attack this dinosaur in the first place. Elephants usually charge at their prey head first, tusks out. But the Stegosaurus's tail spines could easily impale an elephant at this distance. An elephant would need to be very careful when approaching one of these dinosaurs. It could try going around its opponent, but the Stegosaurus could sense danger through vibrations in the ground and would spin around to face the elephant with its deadly tail. It seems that the Stegosaurus would win in this matchup, at least without provocation. So now we know how each dinosaur would react if an elephant showed up in their time. The question is, how would the elephants fare? We'll tell you right after. As we've seen, each dinosaur has its own strengths and weaknesses. Some are slow and unintelligent, while others are incredibly powerful. But there's one thing that all of these animals have in common. They're all extinct. And it's this fact that gives elephants the edge. None of the dinosaurs could adapt to the changing world, but elephants have. They've evolved over millions of years and learned to survive in almost any environment. They've also lived alongside humans for thousands of years and have learned to adapt to our presence. But could they have coexisted with the dinosaurs? Well, that's debatable. On one hand, elephants and dinosaurs could have lived alongside each other peacefully. The dinosaurs largely kept to themselves and didn't seem to mind sharing the earth with other animals. On the other hand, there's the theory that dinosaurs went extinct because of the asteroid impact. And if that's true, it's likely that the dust and debris from the impact killed off many animals, including elephants. Either way, it's impossible to say for sure how the dinosaurs would have reacted to elephants. But one thing is certain: the elephants would have been in for a wild ride if they had shown up in the age of dinosaurs. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.